So as people are coming in, and I want to give everyone an opportunity to speak into the room, and feel free for it to be cacophonous, overlap with each other, but just say hi, where you're calling in from, anything else you want to share. And you can do that as people are coming in.
Awesome.
So who are
Thanks
you?
for the invitation.
You're
I'm
welcome.
Tyler, calling in from Seattle, Washington. I dare to believe I could share my healing medicine with the world. So here I am learning more about coaching.
Awesome. Dare to believe.
Dare to believe. Dare to challenge those old stories that say I have nothing to offer.
Yeah. So everyone chime in. It could just be even like, hi, my name is.
Hi, my name is Kim Moore, and I'm here from Youngstown, Ohio. Thank you for the invitation, Fawn and Michael.
Welcome.
Hi, my name's Sahina, and I'm calling in from the southwest of England. It's good to be here.
Oh, thanks for joining us. So, anyone else want to just say hi and maybe their name?
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jasmine Pancala. I'm logging in from Layton, New Jersey. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to explore coaching with you. I've really enjoyed the journey the last year and a half, so appreciate it.
Awesome. All right. Fawn has limited Wi-Fi, so it sounds like she can hear us, but can't have the camera on. So hello, Fawn. And I know that a lot of Fawn's crew is here and joining. All right. So Ursula, good to see you.
Nice to see you too, Michael. Thanks for the invite. I'm excited to be here.
Mm-hmm. And Lance. Give a few minutes for other people to drift in. So as you're arriving, and I'm not even sure if this is for you guys or if it's for me, just allowing yourself to settle. Like any distractions, anything that you've been up to just a minute before, allowing those to be gently put down, have the space for curiosity, for potential, for an amazing, prosperous future as a coach. Right? You're getting to live that dream life by helping other people live their dream lives. Like, how awesome is this profession? At least for me, like, this is the best profession in the world. Like we get to like tap people on the shoulder and wake them up. And one of the things I want to point towards within this call is it's possible for us to really live prosperous lives, rich lives as doing that. So a little bit about format for these group calls. I'll be doing a lot more teaching, sharing ideas in about like the first half. We've got 2 hours together. And I encourage you, if you have an insight, if you have an aha moment, if there's something that just sort of turns on that light bulb above your head, I encourage you to use the chat to share those. And sometimes I like to use just an exclamation mark. Sometimes that just means like, whoa, cool. Sometimes it might be exclamation mark and what you just heard, what you just got. There might be a new way of thinking about things. It also is good feedback for me as well, because if a bunch of people are having, oh my God, moments, I want to slow down to give those time to sink in. And I'm going to play it by ear how much I'll be answering questions while teaching. If you have short, sort of clarifying questions, you can put those into the chat, starting with a capital Q. And there's going to be a couple of short periods for more questions and shares after the teaching portion. And then there's going to be an exercise and some other stuff, and we'll have fun. And like with that, and in a couple minutes, like maybe around like 10:10, I probably will actually be closing the room, like locking the room so other people don't get in. Like if you're that late, sorry, you get to watch the recording. So that it's us, and there's an energetic container here with everyone. It's optional, but I would love to see your faces if you're willing to turn your cameras on. Helps me connect with so much more of you, and it like brings more life into the room. I don't want to be talking into an echo chamber. As much as I like my voice, like I want to connect with all of you. So, context for this workshop today, Coaching Business Myths. I'm imagining that if you're here, that means that you're a professional coach, or you want to be a professional coach to some degree. Like you want to be making a lot of money doing this. Like you want to be making a living doing this. You want to be supported by you serving people so that you can serve people more. Like there's this virtuous loop that you can create. And there's just a lot of bad advice out there in the world. There's a lot of really popular ideas that don't work, but they're really seductive. They're really tempting to believe. And because they're really tempting to believe, it's really easy for people to sell them to you. It's really tempting to pay people to tell you the things that you already believe. But the question is, like, do they actually work? And we'll be exploring some of these and some of the aspects of why there's a grain of truth in each of them, but also why these myths, like the 6 myths that I'll be talking about today, tend to just distract us. Like they get in the way of the coaching business instead of being the coaching business. So my goal for all of you today is to set you free. I want you to be able to see and understand each of these myths so that when you go back out in the world and everyone is parroting these same ideas back to you, you can understand why they believe that, and you can see through it. And when you can see through it for yourself, you can start to see how the business of coaching can actually work. So I'm going to do that thing where I block the meeting. All right, so it's just us. Oh yeah, and heads up, the very end of the call, so like I will be doing an upsell. I've got a big opportunity for a small number of coaches, and I don't want to distract any of what I'm covering here talking about that until the very end. So if you don't want to hear an upsell, you feel free to log off at the very end and run away and like take what you get with the call, and you're good. Because yeah, I want all coaches to know this stuff that I'm talking about today. So let's dig into the myths, like the coaching business myths. So we'll start with the first myth. You should follow a formula. Most coaches, as they move from having learned coaching, having been coached, being in some sort of coaching training or world, transformational worlds, and they start to go into business, they want to become a professional coach. Most people who become a professional coach want to have a business, but they don't want to be a business person. They don't want to go through the work of creating a business. They're sort of an unwilling entrepreneur, like this is some unsavory thing that they just need to go through or get through in order to help more people, in order to like just make a living doing the thing that you really love doing. And I'd suggest that if you don't want to be a business owner, you shouldn't become a professional coach. You should probably get a job and be a nonprofit coach on the side. Like find some way to make the money somewhere else. And then you can just help people as much as you want without having to figure out all this stuff. But one of the cool things about being a professional coach, in addition to buying more time to help people, there's this magical synergy. There's something about people investing in coaching. It's about people paying for coaching, that energetic investment. That's one of the virtuous loops within this profession that make the whole prosperous coach thing like really not only like possible, but inevitable as long as you clear out all the distractions. So the grain of truth with that you should have a formula is, well, actually, I'll go back to introducing that you should have a formula. Most coaches don't actually want to be in business, so they want to just skip ahead. They want the shortcut. They want the how-to. How do I do this? What are the steps? What program can I do that's going to guarantee that I'm going to succeed? What are other people doing so that I should just do that and I'll succeed, right? And the grain of truth there is that all these people, all these ideas, it's good to have a lot of ideas, but the problem is that there's no right way. Like what someone else did to succeed isn't necessarily going to make you succeed. That's their way, not your way. Even more confusingly, a lot of the things that you see other coaches doing doesn't necessarily mean that they're succeeding. There's a lot of really, really impressive coaches out there who are struggling. I heard of a coach a long time ago who got on the Oprah show and got 0 clients because they didn't understand the business of coaching. The distinction I want to make here around business is there's no shortcuts. Like you need to find out for your clients, what works. You're going to need to find your own path. And instead of focusing on tactics, like what's the thing that's going to work, you actually want to look for an underlying understanding of what's going on within the business of coaching. Another way to put this is that you want to understand the physics of the business of coaching, not the engineering. If you understand why someone pays you, suddenly you don't need a script for enrollment. If you understand why someone would want to have a gifted coaching conversation with you, suddenly you don't need to figure out how to ask. If you know how valuable it would be for someone to pay you for an ongoing coaching program, suddenly it's not so difficult to create one to let them have that opportunity. There's another point I want to cover in one of the upcoming myths. So one of the things that makes the business of coaching simple, if not necessarily easy, but simple, when you see the value of coaching, when you see the value in investing in coaching. Like if you've hired your own coaches, like this becomes much more direct, much simpler. It's like you start to get it. Then you realize the value of your clients investing in coaching with you. The rest of the coaching business is just clearing up misunderstandings and finding out if you're a good match with someone. So don't worry so much about formulas and tricks and shortcuts, as much as the underlying physics and magic of what's going on. So the second myth, you should motivate yourself. Now, this is not particular to the business of coaching. Here I'm talking about, this is just like the entrepreneurial myth. One of the things I've noticed about some people who become professional coaches, the ones who succeed almost immediately tend to be the people who are already entrepreneurs. And they're probably already high-level entrepreneurs, like people who were like lawyers, real estate agents, like people who had been making a lot of money. They've been used to working on their own already. They were consultants. The switch over to the business of coaching is fairly natural. But if you're coming more from a world of entrepreneurship or employee, if you're coming from the world of being an employee, or if you've just been a struggling entrepreneur, congratulations, you are now a struggling coach. Like you still need to figure out that portion. So one of the missing pieces of being an entrepreneur is you still have a boss. It's just that now that boss is you. You are both the CEO and the employee of your business. So one of the things to consider for yourself is, what kind of boss are you? Are you an abusive boss? Do you think that willpower and scaring yourself and negative motivation and deadlines and pressure is what you need to do in order to get yourself into action? And usually underneath that, I notice that there's like an underlying belief that you're evil, dumb, and lazy. Because if so, then it makes sense to use those tactics. It's like, then obviously you do need to beat yourself into action. Also, something that I see very often is the permissive boss. Now that I'm a professional coach, I'm only going to do things when I feel like it. I don't really feel inspired this morning. I probably shouldn't be doing any of that coaching stuff. I don't really, I know I should be like reaching out to serve people, but I'm just, I don't know, I'm tired today. Like, imagine having that attitude if you had a regular job. And it's like people who become professional coaches, they forget the professional part. Right? And by being professional, I just mean showing up. Like, let your coaching business be mundane. Let it be a blue-collar job. Let yourself just wake up in the morning, have a simple routine, clock in, clock out. I once heard that Tony Horton, like the guy who created P90X, like really intense guy, he doesn't feel like working out most of the time. There's a breakdown that I heard from him. It's like there's three parts that are going on in his head. There's the angel Tony, like 21%, like who wants to do it. Like, I want to work out, I'm excited. Like, that's the part that you'll see in his teachings. There's the devil Tony, I think it is 36%. And devil Tony is just like, I don't want to do this. I hate this. But most importantly, and probably most professionally, is the consistent Tony. Boring as hell, but it's time to work out, so I do. So you show up. When you're an actor and someone says the cue on stage, you walk out onto stage. If it's time for a coaching call, you show up. It's part of your job. And you don't need to make a big deal out of it. If you let yourself be thrown around by your feelings, you're going to have a very brittle career. And as part of being a coach, you taking care of yourself and having a fulfilling life is also part of your job. So show up no matter how you feel, but also feeling better is part of your profession, because you're modeling being a healthy human being for other human beings. Going to the third myth, which I want to definitely focus a lot on this one, because this is probably the biggest one. Any of these myths can paralyze your business. This is perhaps the most popular form of paralysis. This is that belief that you need a niche. You need a website. Back in the day, you thought you needed business cards. You think you need to be able to describe what you do to people. You think it matters whether you call yourself a coach or whether you call yourself a tantric shamanic guide into the nether realms. None of that matters in the fundamental business of one-on-one coaching. All of that stuff, all of the marketing, like that's just about you. The grain of truth in this belief that you need to market yourself is that, yes, you do need to find ways to get into conversation with people. But talking about yourself is not an easy way to get into conversation with someone. And if you're in conversation with someone talking about yourself, that's not a conversation, that's a monologue. Coaching is not monologuing. Coaching is a dialogue. In fact, most of coaching, and especially most of enrollment, is listening. Like, if you're talking about yourself a lot, not much is going to be happening. All right, I will unlock so that Jasmine can get back in. Cool. One of the things I want you to understand about how the business of coaching is different from many other businesses in which marketing is totally relevant. Marketing is totally relevant if you're selling products or services. If there's a thing that you're selling, if there's a type of person that is a match for this thing and you're doing that at scale. The thing is, coaching, like one-on-one coaching, is not a commodity. It doesn't lend itself well to the kind of marketing that works for a commodity. Coaching is a relationship business. So the marketing of coaching is intimacy. The marketing of coaching is conversations. The marketing of coaching is working with one person, making a difference in their life, one person at a time. So it's really important to remember that it's not about you. Like, whenever you're tempted to get into the marketing stuff, it's usually when I'm working with a coach and they've already been in the midst of a lot of marketing activities. Like working on their website is very popular. Many coaches will spend years working on their website and not talking to anyone because they're waiting for the website release. It's fear. For the business of coaching, especially one-on-one coaching, you actually want to get rid of anything that gets in between you and a conversation. Anything where you're trying to impress people or talk about yourself is going to get in the way of a conversation. It sounds almost too simple to be true. And that's probably because we're surrounded by internet marketing these days. If you stopped hanging out online and you're just hanging out in person with people, this would actually be a lot more apparent. And this sort of leads into exploring the fourth myth, that you should grow your audience. This is sort of like when the third myth, it's sort of like when you double down on the third myth. You need to market yourself, and that means you need to market to lots of people. You need an audience. It's a numbers game. You need to be able to rule out someone as quickly as possible if they're not going to hire you right away. The thing is, when you start treating people like numbers in the business of coaching, they will run away so fast. They will feel it. They will like just immediately start leaning away from you. Like, if you're selling widgets, yeah, it's a numbers game. Either they want it or they don't. And it might be possible using marketing and sales tactics to get someone to pay for coaching. Like, I'm not saying that some of that stuff doesn't work in order to make money, but I'd posit that when you're doing that, you're no longer a coach. You're just a professional salesperson. You're a professional marketer. Or you might have some sort of like weird codependent relationship between being a marketer and a coach. So I want you to beware the plural. Like, whenever there's an S at the end of one of the words, if you're looking for clients, if you're looking for conversations, then you're starting to go into the abstract. You're starting to get away from one conversation, one person. That's all you need. Slowing down. Like, if you've got a potential client conversation coming up like later in the day or the next day, give yourself permission to just sit back and think about that person a bit more. Think about them before the conversation. Think about them after the conversation. How can you serve this person? Ironically, compared to what marketing teaches us, the fastest way to succeed, to prosper as a coach, is to slow down and focus on one person at a time. Because you want to go deep. This profession requires a lot more depth than it requires breadth. Often the breadth is optional. It comes later. It can be cool. You can end up doing groups and having audiences and doing some of that marketing stuff. But for you to have a solid business requires this foundation to be installed. It requires this to be in place. And one of the cool things about doing your coaching business this way, you will stand out from almost all the other coaches out there. Because almost all of them out there are doing the marketing stuff. They're trying to impress people. And they're trying to sell them within their conversations. They're trying to get someone to buy or get rid of them. When you are coaching with integrity, there is a momentum that is created. Over time, you end up having served people deeply without the neediness of them needing to sign up with you. And both those people end up coming back. Like sometimes they end up hiring you later, sometimes they come back for more. People who worked with you want to work with you again. And also, you'll probably will be one of the few coaches that they would actually refer. Most coaches don't get referrals because they're trying to sell people. And no one would want to refer that to anyone else in their life. But if you're going around authentically, generously helping people, serving people, then when they refer you to you and someone together, that's a gift. So referrals become really easy when you're really serving people and you're not trying to get them. So this is that Steve Chandler ism, like slow down to speed up. Slow down to grow your intimacy. How much relationship you build with a single person. What's this coach-client relationship like? Because it's going to be totally different than the next one. Slow down to grow your impact. How much more can I serve this person? What's possible for them? And if you cut out all those marketing activities, all those distractions, the years of working on the website, and you instead fill your calendar with connecting with people, saying hi, being friendly, listening for people who need help. If you fill your calendar with helping people, pretty soon you're going to end up with a calendar filled with gifted coaching conversations. And if you're really serving people, they're going to want more. At some point, you're going to have to just start charging money because you don't have enough time for all the people who want to talk to you. And pretty soon, when they're all paying you, you might just need to start charging more just for time management purposes. And if you've got some people who are paying you a lot, then you've got plenty of time to keep on serving other people too, like gifting coaching. You can help the people who can't afford to hire you because some other people are paying you. there's a momentum to this approach to the coaching business. It's really cool. And it's so much better for the clients, as well as being awesome for us as coaches. So quick, if your body needs anything, so movement, breath. It's a little bit over half an hour, so remember that we've got a human body here. Yeah. And all right, so we'll go into myth 5. You should balance being nice and being pushy. There's the myth that it's like, you don't want to be too nice, and that you don't want to be too pushy. And there's this myth that they're both sort of like evils that you need to combine, and somehow that's going to be a good thing. Like, I'm just going to flip flop. It's like, okay, now I'm going to be nice. Okay, are you okay? Like, is this good? Like, do you want more? It's like, or pushy is like, nope, this is true. Like, you need to do this. And if you don't do this, I'm ending the call right now and go away. Go back and finish it and tell me when it's done. It turns out you don't have to be either. You don't need to be nice and you don't need to be pushy. You do get to be professional. And the difference is both being nice and being pushy is about you. It's about you playing some sort of social games, like you trying to get their approval, if it's the nice thing. You sort of having power over, like, I know what's best for this client. Like, I'm supposed to like tell them what to do. But it's your agenda. It's about you. Like, if you're being nice or you're being pushy, bring that to your coach. Don't bring that to your client. Being professional is actually about them. Being professional in a way is, there's a lot less of your psychology is there when you're being professional. You don't really have much on it. When you're being professional, yes, often you will really care about the client, about their experience, about their circumstances, their situation. You'll have compassion, you'll have excitement. But you're not trying to get them to see you a certain way. This is sort of like what happens when marketing sneaks into the conversation. Like, you're coaching someone and you're still marketing. When you're a professional, that can include challenging them. It can include helping them come up to an edge. It might involve discomfort. It might involve disruption, a bit of chaos, a bit of trickster energy, a bit of fire. But it's not for your own ego gratification of like, look what I did, look how powerful a coach I am. But because it's in service. Because you're listening to them, you're attuned to them, you're finding out like what will work for them right now. You care about them so much that you don't care what they think about you. And in coaching, in the context of coaching, you can say and ask and do things that you would not do in a social context. And perhaps even more importantly, you can not say and ask and do things that you would do in a social context. Like that whole veneer, that whole surface level stuff of playing games and such, just you can swipe that off the table because it's not going to serve. One of my favorite terms for this, like Steve Chandler refers to this as serving, not pleasing. But my favorite term for this is from Michael Neal, which is coaching as loving disruption. We get to love our clients and massively confuse them. Like, shake things up and hold the space for them as they're shaken up. Sometimes there's even that trust of like butting heads with a client, and you know that something good is going to come out of it. You could lovingly disrupt a potential client enough that they do not want to work with you ever. They don't want to have anything to do with you, and they will complain to other people about you. If you have a sense that whatever happened there is going to be of service to them. Like sometimes you just need to be the asshole coach who they're not going to hire. But if it helps them, cool. And part of the art of coaching is figuring out like which versions of that are actually helpful and which are just you being an asshole. Which versions of being compassionate is really impactful and valuable, and which versions of being really compassionate and caring are perhaps like just indulging. But when you don't care whether they hire you, when you don't care what they think about you, it's so much easier to serve people. It's so much easier to go more deep. And because of that, it becomes much easier to have a prosperous practice. So, sixth myth. You should charge what your time is worth. And really, so there's a grain of truth in here that the greater and more efficient your impact, the more effectively you can make per hour. Like if you're really good at just being with someone for 10 minutes and you say something or do something that just pushes the button, and then you can send them on their way. Like if you can come up with the magical koan question of that just does everything, that's really valuable. Like not only have you had a big impact, you have saved them time. So there's two actually myths within this myth that you should charge what your time is worth. One is the myth that they're paying for your time. And the other is the myth that there's such a thing as you having worth. So first, the time thing. Coaching is not manual labor. If it takes an hour to do what with a client, what other coaches, it might take a year to do, like the person who takes a year shouldn't get paid that much more for it. Time is a constraint, but it's not a measure of value. It's like, yeah, you've got only so much time within the calls. And by the way, as a professional coach, you get to make up how much time you give people. Like there's probably going to be a guaranteed amount of time, but if you want to talk to them more, get them back on the phone. Like saying, hey, it doesn't feel like that conversation's over. Let's talk some more. You can do that. And you don't need to expect them to pay for it, because it's not about getting paid for minutes. It's about creating value. And when it's really clear to you that what they're paying for is not minutes, then it becomes a lot easier for you to transmit that to them as well. Because they might fall into that trap of like, well, what's your hourly rate? The thing about coaching is that when you shift, like when you get something in coaching, it's usually a permanent shift. Like if someone's life got 1% better every time you had a conversation with them, that starts compounding in very powerful ways over time. Like I forget what the math is. I did it a couple of years ago, but it was impressive. I'm still earning dividends on insights that I had 10 years ago. Like there's conversations that I had 5 years ago, 10 years ago, that are probably worth like tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars now. Like whatever that first spark was that had me find the work of Steve Chandler, like I probably owe that like whoever or whatever there easily $500,000. Like that's the kind of value that we're talking about. So the other part of this myth is the myth of worth. Something that's really important to remember when you're starting to think about pricing and value is that you are not for sale. If someone is paying you $1 per hour, if someone's paying you $1,000 per hour, that says nothing about your inherent worth, because your inherent worth is infinite, is innate. Like not taking pricing personally. Also, not taking the value of your coaching personally. Because coaching is a skill, it develops, but it's not personal. When you become better as a coach, the value of your coaching increases, but your value doesn't increase because you are invaluable. It doesn't make sense. You don't have a price tag on you. So as you become a better coach, you create more value and you might be able to make more money. Doesn't make you a better person. So wherever you're at, you're awesome at all levels of success and all levels of failure. So like it's a non-issue. Like worth is a total non-issue for you. But for the business of coaching, value is something to pay attention to. And there's an important distinction between the value of your coaching and the pricing of your coaching. The value of your coaching is in your client's world. And it's in an individual client's world. It's going to be highly variable, especially when you're in a transformational world and you're surrounded by coaches. Some of the things that would just be so mundane for you amongst your peers, there are some clients where like that little insight would be worth $1 million. And that's when that reinforces the need for this to be a one-on-one business. It like you can't really know the value of your coaching because it's so personal. It's going to be different for different people. You might start to guess and recognize some of the patterns. Like you might start to talk to someone or hear a little bit about their issues and just kind of know, it's just like, yeah, okay, I know I can help that person. Like I already know just from experience, it's like, this is going to be really valuable. That's one of the ways that you can get some momentum and ease in who you talk to. But yeah, like you still need to have one-on-one conversations to find that value. So pricing, on the other hand, the pricing of your coaching is in your world. And pricing is more, it's made up. Like coaching is one of the most made up professions that there is. There's no regulation, there's no rules, there's no standards. You can charge $1 per session or like $10,000 per session. And it can work because this is such a relationship business. It's such a unique business. So art pricing is more of an art rather than a science. For most coaches who are beginning, it's usually bounded by what are they willing to ask for, because they don't feel worthy or it's scary to ask for that next level up. It's like, ooh, well, I couldn't ask for that much. It's like, oh, but that's like getting more expensive than therapy. I can't ask for more than that. One of the things to remember about coaching and people paying for coaching, you're not taking their money. It is a consensual business. They're free to say no to your price. One of the patterns that's often behind the people who feel bad about charging for coaching is a bit of that rescuer mentality from the drama triangle. Like this person needs me. If they don't coach with me, terrible things are going to happen. I have to charge like little enough so that I can save them. For one thing, that's not going to serve them much coming from that place. And that's not an approach of a professional coach. If you really do think that they need saving, go save them. But that is not a professional coaching relationship. So don't mistake that for a business relationship. Don't charge someone that you think that you need to save. You're welcome to have a nonprofit arm of your coaching business where you go and serve people who can't afford to hire you, who you really want to help. And you can make the money elsewhere, maybe through a professional coaching business, or maybe something else. Yeah. So, honoring bodies again. And any questions, any shares? And I think we've got a cool enough group. It's like, yeah, if you want to just ask or share, feel free to just unmute and talk. Keep it informal.
Thank you for voicing what I always suspected. This is the most made up profession. I feel, I don't know, validated in a way. It's like, oh, I knew it. And it's all in our relationships. So love that.
Awesome. Thanks. Who else?
I love the reminder that you just shared around saving versus the professional relationship. It brings back the caring versus caretaking that I explored a lot early on. So it's a nice reminder that saving is okay and caretaking is okay when you choose that, but it is different than serving in a caring and professional coaching relationship.
Yeah, definitely. Fawn says, me too.
I appreciated the slow down and have one conversation at a time, that you're not trying to get a group of people to follow you, but you're just one relationship at a time, forming your business and serving people.
Thank you. And what is coming up for me as I absorb all of your pearls is that I come originally from a counseling background, and maybe you might talk a little bit about either the differences and the overlap between coaching and counseling. Oftentimes, clients are, I don't want to say coming to be saved, but they're definitely coming to be helped with, like trauma. And the slowing down piece essential to that. And so I noticed that in sessions, there's a gray kind of nebulous area between coaching and counseling. And perhaps maybe you can talk a little bit about that at some point if there's time, because I think having a clear sense of when I'm in one stage of it versus another stage, I don't know if that resonates for where you are in this.
Yeah, let's see if I can speak to that, because it is subtle. Also, just like connecting the dots with what Tyler said, I'd say that coaching is even more made up than counseling. So there's even more room to play with where you want to go. With the caveat, and I recommend this within coaching agreements, that, like you state, you are not a licensed psychotherapist. Any psychological benefit of coaching is purely accidental. These are for entertainment purposes only. When I ask you how you are, that is not psychotherapy. But there's more and more overlap between the worlds of coaching and therapy nowadays. Because like coaching, understanding therapy, understanding trauma, understanding what's going on there, like that helps the work. And more like counseling and therapy, understanding, like including within that, taking action, like focusing on the future, goals, achievement, change. What do you do when you are okay? Like having forward motion. So both sort of sides share more and more ground. But there's a difference in where like counseling and coaching come from. Counseling, and for me, counseling feels like a little bit closer. Like if I were to like draw fuzzy circles, it's like a little bit closer to coaching. And like therapy is a little bit further, more traditional, further back. But therapy originally comes from the notion that people are broken and you need to talk at them in order to fix them. And that you need to do something about the past. It's very much, very past oriented. And it's very much like getting people to okay. That's like traditionally. Now there's a lot of overlap. Coaching originally comes from the world of performance. How do you work with someone who's already very skilled at what they do, and how can they become better? So in a way, a life coach is take someone who's alive and how can their life get better? It's oriented around future. It's oriented around possibility. So if you want a simple check for like which of those you might be in, you might sort of check in like which time direction do you seem to be pointed in right now? Like, is the conversation oriented around them resolving something from the past and getting to okay? Or is it around creating? And you get to decide, especially within coaching, you get to decide where you go. Like, I rarely go into the past anymore. Like, even to allow healing in the present, I rarely go into most of the therapeutic type of stuff. Yeah. But as coaching, mostly I'll point back towards it's made up. So you get to choose, and you get to have that conversation with each client as well. And as a coach, you get to choose, your clients. For some of the people who have a lot of challenges, you might not want to work with them as a coach. Like for some people where if you don't feel comfortable with what's going on with them, you probably shouldn't coach them. So just being in integrity with that. Yeah. All right, so I want to move into an exercise. And appropriately, it's called Just Serve. So before I describe it to you, think for a moment about something probably in your coaching business, but not necessarily, but just something that you'd like some support around. So how this will work, we're going to do breakout rooms. And you're going to coach each other. But it's going to be really simple. I want you, and there's going to be trios. So each room will have 2 to 3 people. There's going to be 3 rounds. Each time, so like there's going to be a coach, there's going to be a client, there's going to be an observer who just gets to like watch in fascination. As the client, your job is to let yourself be served. As coach, I want you to pretend, and it's just going to be like a 10-minute session. So I want you to pretend like you've been well paid for the session, whatever that means to you. And this is the only session you will ever have with this person. And actually, there's a pretty good chance that that's going to be true, given like just within the structure of this call. Like this might be your only chance to serve this human being. So do whatever you feel like doing within that context. I will give you time checks from a distance out here. Any questions about the structure of this exercise?
How much time? How long is it?
So I'll aim for maybe 9 or 10 minutes each. So, all right. And Fawn doesn't have enough connections, so let me see if I can. Ooh. All right.
Can I just clarify? So you said 10 minutes per person. So so it's a half-hour exercise altogether.
Yep. So it'll be about a half hour altogether.
Okay.
All right. So first, I'm going to create the breakout rooms. I might quickly rearrange some people, and then you can get started. So I will see you all in half an hour. All right. Coming back from the rooms. I think, yeah, you two got bonus time. Awesome. Actually, yeah, feel free to like unmute, say thank you to your partners in that. There's lots of glowing, happy faces. Share the love.
Thank you.
That's so good.
Alan and Kim.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank y'all.
Thank you.
God,
Awesome.
thank you.
Got some talented coaches in this crew, huh?
Yeah.
Thank you, Lance. Thank you, Simone. That was so good.
Yeah, that was great.
All right. So remembering when you were the coach, seeing that as a microcosm of coaching business, because really coaching business is coaching. Like it's serving people. It's like just serving. But some questions to reflect on, looking back. So when you were coaching, and this is just to yourself, thinking to yourself, what difference do you think you made in that 10 minutes? Not judgment, but just like thinking to yourself, what's the difference you think you made just then? Did the needle move? Do you think their life might be a little different? And second question, reflecting on just the 10 minutes that you had with them, what do you see as possible for them? Like if you get to have a full hour conversation with them, like another conversation with them, if suddenly they were handed to you as a like long-term client, like what do you think they'd be working on? So this is a nice thing to think about, because both in terms of like the feel of coaching, like when you all came back and you're all glowing and such, like, yeah, that's what this business is like. Like it can be like that most of the time. Enrollment can be like that too. The business side of it can be like that too. And most of enrollment, most of that like gentle transition from someone that you're just starting to talk to someone who is a paid client, most of that is helping them know what's on offer. You seeing something that's possible for them, helping them see that. Sometimes it's them seeing it and you asking like, what do you see? Like honestly, sometimes as coaches, like if they want to hire you, you might ask why. I don't think anything happened there. I'm not sure if I can help. But so why would you want to hire me? One of the ways I love to define enrollment in the coaching business is coaching about future coaching. Like, I don't know, should you hire this guy? I don't know, it's a lot of money, might be a bad idea. Why would you do that? And if you see something that's possible, making sure that they know that that's possible. It's like, hey, I envision how you and your life could change. It would be a disservice not to share that. And if you're fine either way, like whether you have more conversations with them or not, whether they hire you or not, enrollment is part of the service to them. In many cases, it would be cruel not to. So this is a combination of remembering to keep an eye out for what's possible for them. That's one of the things that's often what leads into the next conversation. That's often what leads into the first coaching conversation. You saw something that's possible, or they have a problem. Say hello to Maya. Usually she's here at the beginning, but like she took her time. And also, like, you create clients by coaching them. When they get the experience of coaching with you, you don't need to describe to them what coaching is. You don't need to describe to them what you do. You don't need to describe to them what kinds of people you work with, because they just experienced it. That's what Steve Chandler means by sell the experience, not the concept. And sometimes when you're inviting someone into a coaching conversation, like, you can authentically not know how helpful it might be. Like, I might be able to help you. Do you want to find out? I promise not to do any permanent psychological damage to you. Might be a little confusing or vulnerable, like sometimes happens in these conversations. But I think you'll be okay, and I'm pretty sure you'll be better off for it. I think one of the things that's different about how I think about the business of coaching compared to lots of things that I've been taught, I put a lot more attention on the physics. I put a lot more attention on seeing something, having a feel for something, understanding what's going on. And I'm not really that attached to being artful about pointing towards it or what I say or having the right sequence of what I say. Like, I can be messy because me being articulate is not the important thing. What I'm pointing towards is what the important thing. Because again, coaching is not trying to impress your client. It's helping their world change. So any like last shares, questions?
I just wanted to say thank you so much. And I was actually in a conversation yesterday with a marketing person. We were talking about different projects. It was fine. And then we started talking about mine. And I literally started like slumping into the chair and feeling like so almost disconnected, because I know what I want to do. And it felt like marketing was, like you said, a necessary evil and so separate from coaching. And so I felt so divided almost, and kind of like almost sick about it all day yesterday and today. And this is just perfect timing, exactly what I needed. I feel more whole, and I'm obviously not like falling out of my chair right now. I'm sitting up straight. So yeah, I just wanted to thank you. This is coaching is about like showing people that they're whole, and I just appreciate you bringing up like the holistic picture of the whole process. Like, this is marketing, and owning a business can feel whole too. So I just wanted to thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Beautifully illustrating the whole intention of this call. Any last question or share before I say a little bit more about what I've got coming up?
Hi, my Michael. Hi, everybody. My Wi-Fi came back. Yay.
Yay. Good to see you,
This has
Bob.
been this has been brilliant. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for speaking the truth out amongst the noise. So I have a curiosity around, and I don't have an articulation for it right now, but a curiosity around the money stuff that tends to really get in people's way, but on both sides. And I know earlier you spoke to kind of the philosophical like insides of that around value and worth. Is there anything you might add or anything that you think is helpful or important to know with regard to like money or money story and how that comes into play?
Yeah. Most coaches, especially towards the beginning of their coaching business, are probably going to need some coaching around money stuff. Yeah, because there's like anything that you've projected on money, like money's evil, or people with money are this, or it's okay to get like this much money, but not more than that. It's not okay to gift coaching for free. They must pay for it. There's like a never-ending like flow of potential beliefs and thoughts about money that could get in the way of serving people. Yeah, so it's often why coaches should have their own coach. Like that's one, just because money's a popular one. And different people I usually point in different directions depending on which things they have. Yeah. So thank you for that. I wonder if there's anything else more generically about money. Nah, it's a rabbit hole going into coaching. Money's completely made up too. Like coaching's made up, money's made up, business is made up. So yeah, things start getting weird in that conversation.
So you're saying it's normal.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've worked with many coaches where the biggest block to their coaching business was just being willing to raise their prices. Like coaches who even run out of time. Like their calendar is full and booked for a month or two, but they can't quite bring themselves to charge a little bit more. And they're financially struggling at the same time. So money is often a sweet spot to address. It's just a number. It's a totally made up approximation of value. $100 for one person is going to be totally different than $100 for another person. This kind of value for one person is going to be totally different than this kind of value for another person. So there's a lot of creativity and a lot of possibility within the business of coaching. So in order to go into, I do have a very big thing coming up. So I am now enrolling a coaching business school. Huge thing. So I've been like through 4 rounds of Steve Chandler's school many years ago. I've been in Carolyn Fryer Jones school. I've done work with Jason Goldberg, just lots of the people in this lineage of coaching business. And I've created my own now. It's called Coaching with Integrity. It's a 6-month school, just 12 coaches. 10 spots are open right now. And it's a triple threat school, like the first of its kind that I know of. Includes 2 live weekend immersions. So getting into the experiential, getting into the community. It includes a lot of teachings, like over 30 video lessons, like these coaching business myths as just like an appetizer for the kinds of things that I cover within the school. Like I want to share all these little gems that I've gathered over the last 5 or so years along the Prosperous Coach path. And I've got those asynchronously available. So you can go through them, like watch whichever ones are appropriate for you at the time, pause if you have an insight. So like when there's the exclamation mark goes up, you can actually pause and just act on it. And lots of group coaching. So instead of using the group coaching time for teaching, I'm going to use the group coaching time for coaching. I know, radical thought. So that and one of the really cool things about doing this in a group, like the coaches get to like work with and support each other, but also when someone's being coached in a group, in a way, everyone's being coached. If someone's working through a particular issue, everyone gets to work that issue. Like there's a cool impact effect of getting to work with a group, especially a fairly like tight group. Like 12 feels like a nice intimate number, like enough that there's a group effect, but small enough that you really get to know everyone. So that's on offer. So 12 coaches, 6 months. The investment is $6,000. And here's the website. I've just begun over this last week, starting to enroll it. So I encourage you to take a look at the website. If this is something that you might possibly be interested in, it's as simple as send me an email saying, tell me more about the school, and we'll talk. Like this portion of the call is probably the least like things that I teach in this school. But like the things that I teach in the school, if you're interested, let's have a conversation. I'm not going to try to do much to sell you on the concept or the features or whatever of it right now. And most of all, I want you to sit in the feeling and the possibility of what we've been talking about in the call today. And in a way, I want you to go back out into the world armed with being able to recognize these myths. So that when all these people are telling you that you need to like follow their formula, you need to motivate yourself, that you need to market yourself, and you need to market yourself to a lot of people. And there's like a whole nice pushy thing, and you should charge what you're worth. And it's like all these things, if you recognize the feeling of insecurity starting to well up within you, get suspicious. You might be being marketed to. And if you can see through that and remember, like, even though it's invisible on this side of like the social media wall, remember that you can build a prosperous coaching business by really serving people, one conversation at a time. It's that simple. there might not be a lot of models around you. There might not be a lot of examples, and there might be a lot of messaging saying the opposite. But I know hundreds of coaches who've succeeded along this path, and probably thousands of coaches who are struggling, who don't believe that this path could work, or just thinks that it's a nice idea while they work on their website. So go forth into the world and coach from there. And I want to actually end, I'll end with this quote from Steve Chandler. The coaching profession has a problem that is twofold. There's a low bar for entry and a high bar for success. I want each of you to clear that high bar. Not just because I want to support you individually, but because succeeding along coaching along this path makes you a better coach and better serves your clients. Like, I want to bring more dignity into the profession of coaching. I want more of this to be the feeling of the profession of coaching, and not mistake this with a lot of the noise that's happening out there. And with that, I'll close. And I apologize that we're like 3 minutes over time.